Hey everyone, what's happening? And we are going over Fedora 31 as a release today. But before we go over that, I would like to invite you to subscribe if you're new. Ring that bell if you wish. Alright, let's dive into Fedora 31. This is a great release, as I was very impressed with it. The Anaconda installation was very easy. However, there is something you do need to watch for. Sometimes the partitioning for automatic partitioning is a little bit weird and it does things differently. If you really know what you're doing, I would suggest that you manually partition your drive rather than use the automatic installer. Really all you need is a main partition and a swap. As you can see, I didn't put a swap in here, which I kind of regretted while messing around with this VM, but lesson learned there. Of course, I'm using the LXQt desktop environment, and that was actually pretty responsive, so no complaints there. We'll go over the desktop environment in a minute. It has a very minimal install. I went over a brief review earlier with all the software that was installed. Go ahead and check out that video up in the right hand corner, and I will put it there. One of the things I was really impressed with was the package management system, DNF. It was very intuitive. It seems to install all the normal required dependencies, but also a lot of the side dependencies as well. Let's take Lutris for an example here. We're going to go sudo dnf install Lutris. Now it's going to go through and resolve the dependencies after I enter in my super secret password. We gotta wait for it to refresh it. It's going to be a little slow in the VM, especially seems how my internet connection hasn't been the best of the moment. As you can see, I've installed RPM Fusion, but we will go into that in just 1 second. RPM Fusion is a bunch of other repositories, but take a look at this. It's installing all the required libraries, but also take a look at this. It's installing the wine file system. It's installing GNOME Desktop 3. It's not doing the actual desktop environment, but all the libraries for it. It's installing your graphics drivers and your OpenGL libraries. But my whole surprise is it's actually installing the Vulkan loader and Wine core. It's actually installing Wine itself. I was actually really impressed with this. Instead of having to go through and install those separately, which you would have to do in a lot of the other distributions, this is automatic here. I'm not going to go ahead and install this because I don't need Lutris in this VM. However, Steam does the same exact thing, and a couple other programs as well, which I was very impressed with. I haven't used Fedora since like Fedora 19 or 20, and back then they used Yum, and Yum was not this extensive. So congratulations to the Fedora team there. You've done actually something right, which they've been doing everything right up to this point. However, this is really an improvement, and I like that, and I approve. Now we're going to go over the desktop environment. It is actually a great environment once you get a proper theme installed and installing a compositor, because it doesn't include one. As you can see, I have adjusted the compositor in my desktop environment here, and I have updated that config file up in GitHub, so you will get this config file instead of the other one. But I adjusted the transparency and the fading a little bit, and a couple other the shadowing. So go ahead and check that out in my GitHub if you really wanted this compositor. Now LXQt, this version is 0.14.1. It's the one that ships with this version of Fedora. And it has been very responsive for me. And I have not had any crashes, anything like that. It's been very stable. It's great for low spec machines, such as like your netbooks, etc. Or for those who want to cut out a lot of the bloat of the other desktop environments, but don't want to drop down to a basic window manager and build their own environment. However, LXQt does have its drawbacks as well. It lacks modern functionality like online account integration and a built-in compositor. Some of these are fixable, like online integration. I showed you how to do that in a previous video. I'll link that up in the upper right hand corner and the description. Yes, that was on the Mate desktop, but it will work here as well. Also, the compositor is easily fixed by installing Compton. However, some of it's not easily fixed, such as desktop widgets, etc. and customizable panels. If you really want a lot of these features and have a moderately spec machine, I would highly suggest the KDE Plasma desktop if you want the Qt framework. Mainly because it has a built-in compositor and it's a better one than Compton. It has the desktop widgets built in, and it has a higher degree of customization than LXQt. Now LXQt does have some configuration options, and it is quite extensive. However, it's not as extensive as KDE. And KDE sits between 500 and 600 megs of RAM at boot. So if you have a computer that has 4 gigabytes of RAM or more and a dual core processor, which is most laptops today, you won't have an issue at all running KDE efficiently. However, LXQt has been a great experience for me, and I would highly recommend it for those who wish to use it. So the question remains, would I recommend Fedora? Absolutely. This is a very easy to use distribution. It's built on the reliability of the Fedora distribution. I've had a lot of fun playing around with it and found it to be very stable. So yes, I would recommend that you give it a try. I'm actually considering installing this on my second PC. I would never recommend something that I wouldn't run myself. If you like this video, please feel free to like and share it. Also, subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day. I'll see you in the next one. And please, go try Fedora if you wish.